luckily the parents are wise enough to recognize his symptoms at 3 years old, and they want to get him better. So this poor kid, his name's Thomas, and he lives up in Pennsylvania, and he presented with a lot of skin issues. He had sleep issues, he had mood issues, he was angry, he was irritable, he had food reactions, food sensitivities, and we can see why. So what we're looking at are the byproducts of your metabolism. This is the exhaust pipe of the body. You measure this in the urine, and these different organic acids are linked to certain things, like this marker here. This is aspergillus. So you want less than 28. That would mean that you're not growing mold. This poor kid has been exposed, maybe from a daycare. She was exposed, and we know that mycotoxins go through the placenta in utero. So even if a child did not have their own exposure, the mother can pass these mycotoxins through the placenta. And we've also seen mycotoxins show up in breast milk. So breastfeeding is the number one most important thing you can do for your child. The unfortunate thing is, if you're full of mold toxin, you will transfer that to your baby. However, we've put even my youngest, we've put her on binders and micronized chlorella and some other things we can get into from day one. And you can detox these children very effectively. But long story short, what happened with this kid here is he was exposed to so much mold that he is now considered colonized. So there's several situations that can happen with mold. You can just go to a moldy hotel in Cabo for the weekend and you take a little hit of it and it gets in your body and that's it. And it stores and you're a mold reservoir. Or you can be a mold factory, or you can be both. In this case, this kid is both. He is making mycotoxins internally now, meaning even if his mother took him to a non-moldy house, he was living in the middle of the desert and he had no mold exposure, it doesn't matter because he's generating those mycotoxins internally now. And so you can see these levels are just off the charts. Arabinose, that's a marker for candida. So this kid has tons of candida overgrowth. He is addicted to sugar. And if you hide the sugar, he seeks it out. He's like a heat-seeking missile for sugar. I mean, he'll find it. You hide a cookie, he's going to find the cookie. And it's not his fault. It's because the candida wants to survive. So when you put a kid like this on, we'll use liquid oregano or we'll use berberine or antifungals. As soon as you put the kid on that and you start killing these mold colonies and the candida, it's going to drive up the cravings more. So it's just really up to the adult or the parent to just try to help keep these people on track with their diet to get through the treatment so that you can resolve this. And then I'll pause in a minute so you can comment on this. But the last section on page 1 here of this oak test, you can see this kid has a major bacterial overgrowth problem. And he also has an infection that we see a lot in hospitals where people go in for endoscopies or colonoscopies, routine procedures, and they come home with what's called an HAI, a hospital-acquired infection, like C. difficile, which kills a lot of people because they basically just diarrhea themselves to death. So this poor kid's got C. diff, and the conventional treatment in the gastroenterology world is very, very, very heavy-duty, strong antibiotics. And as you may have talked about before, you have this problem of antibiotic resistance. So even if you give this kid antibiotics, it might not treat the C. diff. Fortunately, with herbs, we haven't had any resistance problems. So with a combination of it, hopefully we'll kill all these bad guys, which we have a lot. We've got tons of bacteria. We've got a bunch of yeast and a bunch of mold. What do you do for these kids? And you really just have to pay attention to symptoms. And if they're constipated, we'll bump up magnesium or we'll throw in some laxative herbs. Or if he goes to diarrhea, then we just try to go heavier on the binders.
Annotated and summarized. Easy to share with loved ones. The description below the title for this video has these summary points.